Toy
What's up, collective fam? It's your boy Tony the Toy Rat. And guess what? It's clobbering time. That's my best rendition of Fantastic Four's ever loving Blue Eyed Thing. Now, I recently got the opportunity, the pleasure to chop this one up with the legendary Jim Shooter. But I wanted to open it up with just you guys so I can give my unbiased opinion. Because really, what I was after was his. Why do I count? In any case, get ready to chop it up with me and do like the bag says. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to Tony the Toy Rat. Let's go! Alright, collector fam, if you're a box collector, and for me, I have to keep all the resin boxes because the resin statues are just that much more fragile than the PVC. You get a lot of detail out of them, but I tell you what, this is one big box. So if you're gonna keep the boxes, you better have space for it. That's all I'm saying, guys. So let's take a look at the size of this box before we do anything else. Pardon the interruption, collector fam, but just a brief interlude before we get into unboxing and opening toys and reviewing them. Remember, this is all about the comic books, and you can't have comic books without artists. So we had our friend Daryl Murphy, editor-in-chief over at Vim, the Voracious Imagination Masters, whip us up his rendition of the thing, and that's what you see right over here. And if you want to get a commissioned piece of art just like this, all you have to do is head over to Instagram and find Daryl the Artist Official, whose link should be right over here or down here somewhere. Go find Daryl the Artist and get your piece next. Alright guys, now back to the unboxing. We have 17 by 14 by 12. 17 by 14 by 12 is the box. Luckily for you guys, the statue isn't that big. But let's open it up real quick and look at it together. This is what he looks like on the box. And remember, this is the Fantastic Four hand sculpted by Claiborne Moore. So let's take a look at it together. And I am so interested to see what you guys think about this particular statue. Okay, oh my goodness. There's a lot going on in here. I'm going to turn it upside down. You guys, when you open yours up, be very careful, obviously. This is a resin statue. We don't want anything coming out and getting broken. Now, I opened it up previously, so we don't have to jump out and cut anything open. Look at that. The whole top part of the box came off already. We don't have to worry about it. Now, it comes in two pieces. That's something you should know automatically, okay? You're going to have plenty of room to display the character. But, piece number one is the base that it comes with. Check that out, guys. Hopefully you guys are getting a pretty good look at that. This is Ben Grimm versus the Killer Torgo. Ben Grimm Killer versus Torgo. So this was like a sci-fi battle for the ages, if I remember correctly. If you want to hear more about it, watch the interview I did with Jim Shooter. So you can see there's a single peg line down here, right there, but there's 2 feet. So it's an easy placement. So he's got one peg in his foot, which I will show you guys right now. Oh, that's what he comes in. Jeez, a lot of plastic. So you can see there's a peg right here in his foot. I'm going to move the styrofoam off, and I'm going to put the base up. And the base is pretty heavy, man. That's got to be 4 or 5 pounds easily. Okay, let me set this in a position it's not going to get floated off of here. Okay, so there's the base, and then you go ahead and literally put this point, you keyed in, which is keyed into this point right here, on the foot, and boom, he locks directly into place. So, you know how this works, guys. First I show him to you. Oh, he's heavy as hell, I'll tell you what. That is what the thing looks like. I'm not sure how you guys feel about it on first looks, but you know what we do. We show them to you this way, and then we set them down for a full body spin. Before I do that, remember guys, it ain't right unless it comes with the certificate of authenticity. So this one is telling me I got number 209 of 3000, What does that mean? That means there's plenty more for you guys to go and pick one up. Fantastic Four fans, this is the classic thing. This is the Jack Kirby version of thing. Okay? So we'll talk more about that in a minute. In the meantime, this is the thing. Let's get a full body spin. Alright, Collector fam, I feel like this particular statue needs just a little bit of context because this was taken after the legendary, late and great Stan Lee's writing of the Fantastic Four's book number 4. And what is it all about? Because most of us haven't read everything we need to read off the Fantastic Four to know what's actually going on. So the synopsis on this is Reed Richards is trying to determine where Ben Grimm was whisked away to because he was basically kidnapped by the Skrull Empire. That's right, guys. The Skrulls are one of their main baddies for the Fantastic Four. For those of you who didn't know, we will see them again in the Fantastic Four universe. But in this case, they've whisked him away to one of their home planets of Krau, where he's actually been purchased like a slave by a character named Boss Barker. And he is forced to fight basically for the survival of Earth. How does that work? Well, no matter how many times he tries to escape, he gets told basically by the bad guy in the book, which is Torgo, that they have a sonic disruptor. And the sonic disruptor can basically change the axis, the shift of any planet, which would basically kill everybody on Earth. So Ben Grimm is now forced to fight in this gladiator-style battle for the fate of Earth. Now you have some context. That's what this whole Torgo situation is about. Now that you know a little bit more about what this whole diorama is set up to be, I do wish, starting off, that there was a bad guy element in here. You can see it's clobbering time for Ben Grimm right now, but you don't know who he's clobbering. Now you get a sense of that based on this part back here. You guys can see that. I'm not sure if I've given enough room right here. There's some newsprint article on the back of a very beaten up wall over here. And on that it says Ben Grimm Killer versus Torgo. And that pretty much matches the comic book cover from 1969, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. So this is obviously a period piece. Not only do we get that sense because of, I just told you it was 1969, but also taking a look at the Thing. Now the Thing today as he's drawn, and he's been drawn a bazillion times by 1,000 excellent artists who've done their own rendition. However, I got a little bit of insight when talking to Jim Shooter this past weekend over at Heroes Con. And Jim Shooter basically said they nailed this version of the Thing. Because Jack Kirby never meant him to be like overly muscular. They didn't want him to seem so human. He needed to have proportionally correct limbs, but he wasn't so much like a beefy chest and cut up diesel character so much. The other thing that I know for a fact they got right are the fingers. See, now if you look in there, what do you see? You guys should see only a set of 4. So 3 large fingers and a thumb. They got that right. That's the way Kirby drew them. Also, if you take a look at the forehead on this guy right here, man. Take a look at this piece here. The way it is basically a bridge onto itself. Not only is it a bridge onto itself with a low sloping, it makes him look like sort of a caveman aspect. And he was sort of meant to look like that. Almost beastly, if you would. Okay? Also, you'll look at the plates that form his entire body. We know he's made of rocks. We know he's orange and made of rocks. A lot of this right here is piece by piece and almost equidistant. There are some pieces of the overall sculpture here that basically are slightly larger, but for the most part, they're pretty close to the same size all the way around the body. Now, in the original Fantastic Four, they didn't have full sets of pants. And again, this was the 60s. They were basically mirroring everybody who had wrestling gear. And that's what wrestlers wore. So that's why he's got the shorts on. Okay? His feet are very much the same in that you would get 1, 2, 3, 4 digits and no more. Don't draw the thing with more than 4 digits. It would be wrong. It would be wrong of you. Okay? Very wrong. What's really important, and always must be with the thing, the blue eyes. Now I'm going to have to pull this up closer so you guys can take a look at that. Hopefully see it for yourselves. He does have blue eyes. Now I wish his expression was a little bit better on here because it does seem like it's kind of face that he's making. But again, if you look, and you should right now, over here on the side, let's go over here. Boop. This is where I'm going to put the cover for the Fantastic Four. You will see that's how he was drawn. Again, in a period piece, that's what you're after. So, what do I like? What don't I like? Well, I've talked about a lot of the things I like already. For one, we can be blessed that they did not embed him in any kind of rocks. So it's sand. I'm going to push this down just a little bit more so you guys can see the base down here. This is more of a sand area platform. It's on another planet. And there are broken pieces of rock all around him. You can also see here in the front, I'm sure you guys can tell that right here, there's some chains. Symbolic of him breaking those chains. But there is a lot going on in the book if you consider that he was kidnapped and forced into slavery to save humanity. This is why you read the comic books, people. You got to go back to the books. That's where they're pulling all these cool statues from. And you get the context to see whether or not the MCU is ever going to pull that kind of material into the flicks. And I'll be interested to see if they do. So, no rocks, sand, broken chains all around. His footprints are pushed into the sand. That's where we keyed him in earlier. You guys saw that. Things I wish, which I mentioned already, I wish that maybe he was pushed back and we got our villain alongside this here, right? If Torgo was on here, I think you guys would find it even better than it is. Because it's pretty good. I love that it's a period piece, and I know that you're going to display your statues in one direction, like this, or like this. But, with all the attention to detail that they gave it, I hate that they did this. So, the back side of this brick wall is just this really smooth slab. And I feel like that's a missed opportunity for additional detail. Now, these things are difficult, guys, and I'm being nitpicky. But that is something that I wish would be there, right? And, of course, I wish that his expression was something more that we wouldn't need a synopsis for. I like to be able to look at the portrait of the character and tell what's going on if I can. That's a really difficult thing to do for the artist. And I'm talking about the digital sculpture artist. But still in all, I feel like they did a really good job. This is a resin bust. It is a bust, not a bust. It's a resin statue. And it is quite heavy. I think it's going to be the perfect period piece for any of you guys who read the Fantastic Four as a kid. Now, even coming into it, when I came into it, was the late 80s. He's different looking than the 60s model, right? They started a whole different cast of artists started drawing him in just the way I said he's not drawn. I can pull out an action figure through here, and you guys can see the various differences between that and the sculpture. But I don't want to detract from what you're seeing either. They did a really good job of, you see how the shorts are pulling on either side here? So it does feel like fabric. Doesn't feel like fabric, but it looks like fabric, like it's supposed to act. So it's pulling at different places through here. But regardless of that, his arms are in the right place in terms of his musculature. Like, he's not overly bulky. He's just really thick. Rock-like, if you would, right? So I really appreciate those things about him. If I had to say whether or not he'd be on my list, if I was building a classic group of characters all the way through for the Fantastic Four, 100%. Absolutely. This is the original snapshot of the thing. And when I say original, I mean, and that's a tattoo, if you guys hadn't seen that already, of our friend Stan Lee. So Stan Lee and Jack Kirby put them together this way, and he survived ever since, decades and decades later. You have to give it homage to that. That's what this piece is. And for that reason, I love it. Okay? Now, if you wanted to stand up to today's artwork and the various changes that they made of the thing, his body style, body type, and the way he sort of looks today, well, clearly, it's not going to be exactly the same. But that wasn't what they were going for. So, this is your boy, Tony the Toy Rat, telling you, if you're looking for a classic version of the thing in a nice piece that's super displayable in resin, nice heavy set piece too, this is the one you probably should look at. Why? Because like most things from Diamond Select Toys, it's not only affordable, but it's pretty damn good looking. So it's made for the everyday collector, which I think a lot of you guys are. But you tell me what you think, man. This is him, and I'm eager to hear how you guys feel about it because we have a whole other interview with the legendary Jim Shooter, and I'm not going to tell you what he said. You just have to stop and watch it. This is your boy, Tony the Toy Rat, and I'm out.